community. As you probably all know, IAMAI, of course, is a very well-known organization in the country and still the only professional industry body representing the online industry in India. In November of 2019, IAMAI formed a new industry expert committee focused on sustainable design and innovation. The Design and Innovation Committee is the latest step in its efforts to make design education reach out to everyone, to drive sustainable innovation, to drive initiatives where design can as an inclusive change maker, to increase awareness on the importance of design, irrespective of the industry, and also to develop design skills in the country. We also look forward to, as part of the committee, to facilitate discussions between industry participants and government stakeholders in order to meaningfully contribute to the national design policy of the Government of India. The committee also has drawn up a roadmap to forge collaborations with other design communities, associations, government agencies, and also educational institutions with the objective of collectively promoting design in business, in society, and public services, while helping develop design standards and benchmarks that are relevant to India. Encouraging startups through incubators and accelerators so that innovative ideas and initiatives can be taken forward, guided by design, has also been another major objective. So in keeping with the committee's charter, this Design Leadership Summit, therefore, has a unique flavor. You will find that our speakers from India and across the world will speak and share their experiences not only about best practices in mainstream and cutting-edge design and design education, but will also discuss new ways in which design and design education can bring inclusive transformation for citizens, and especially for those underserved amongst our populations in the country and the world. And so to inaugurate this unique summit, we are really fortunate to have with us someone whose commitment to inclusive transformation has been extraordinary. Please join me in welcoming our distinguished guest today, Dr. Yasmin Ali Hak. Dr. Hak is the UNICEF representative to India since July 2017. With over 24 years of service in UNICEF, starting her career in Bangladesh, Yasmin has held leadership roles in the Office of Emergency Programs, South Sudan, Ghana, and Sri Lanka. Dr. Hak's leadership and professional experience spans over a very wide range of fields, including policy analysis, strategic planning for women's and children's rights, child-centric development programming, and large-scale responses for children in humanitarian crisis. Yasmin is a strong believer in the power of partnership in accelerating results for children. It is with great pleasure that I now invite Dr. Hak on this virtual stage for her inaugural address. Over to you, Dr. Hak.
Thank you so much, Apala, and thank you for this very warm welcome. It's not every day that I imagine that I would be talking to a group such as you have in your audience, because all of you present here are experts in design thinking and design leadership. And I think for me, a role that I would like to play is to focus on that important dimension of what is the purpose of design and how it can be about improving the quality of life for communities, the most marginalized and vulnerable, and also the environment, the planet we live in. We know that design is transforming the way companies can create value, whether it's in the realm of design, technology, and more we see it's not just about creating products and services. It's more and more about the user experience and the focus on that. When we talk about design, it's really important to understand the unmet needs and how we work towards creating an improved future. The thinking can help in addressing complex human-centered challenges, and I would pick for child-centered challenges. which also looks at issues such as health, education, food, water, and of course, climate change, because we see today how children are coming up in a strong voice about climate change. But the biggest challenge we are all faced with today is, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic. And the effects of this are being felt around the world as here in India. We've seen it poses it has actually realized the threat in exacerbating existing inequalities and vulnerabilities around the social, political, and economic realms, which are impacting communities and families. The impact on the lives of children and their families is not only devastating for them personally, but really it's about the days to come, the future, the role they will be playing as your future customers, as your future partners, as your future employees. With the fast evolving situation, we are seeing disruption in, of course, education more visibly, in childcare, in family illness, the potential loss of household income, and also, sadly, on the whole, survival. Though while the case of COVID does not have the face of a child, it is affecting even children's survival. Quite early on in the pandemic, many of you might have seen Johns Hopkins University, who are at the heart of monitoring what goes on, worked with the Lancet, and they projected that an additional 6,000 children would die globally every day as a result of either healthcare being lost or family income being lost or not being able to access the type of food and nutrition that they require. And the estimate is that of those 6,000, 1,600 would be in India. That's 1,600 additional children lost due to lack of food or the interruption of health systems, as I said, and also the whole initial restrictions that we saw on free movement. And all of you, I'm sure, are yourselves witnessing the socioeconomic fallout of the crisis that is also putting children at a heightened risk of abuse, neglect, and violence. And by those who have missed months of education, nearly a year, an academic year, millions are likely not to return to school because we have already seen that they are either being married off, the young girls who are seen as a burden. Also, the talk on the street is that dowry rates have gone down, and they are being married off by families for whom it's a coping mechanism, or they're being trafficked into a life of modern day slavery. And we know that they're already also entering the informal labor market. But it's not hopeless. We cannot give up in this situation. There is much that each one of us can do. Small things that go a long way, but it's really for all of us to come together with a common vision of how are we going to focus on building back better following the COVID pandemic, because it is going to go on and we're going to have to be building back better even as the pandemic continues, because till now we don't see when the end will be in sight. So in India, the school closures have impacted close to 250 million school-going children. 48% of them are girls. And this is just in the elementary and the secondary realm. This is in addition to an estimated 6 million children who are already out of school even before the pandemic. So it's just adding the burden of children who are not just not going to school, but they also have very few opportunities to continue learning. So it's critical time that while we look at building back, we look at how can we build back even better. A time to reimagine learning and education. And that's something I would really want to focus on, because your industry really has a strong role to play in that, which is, again, crucial to build a sound and robust foundation of our entire society. The education of children, their mental health, their well-being, and their future. It's crucial that whatever design we go for takes this into account, and we ask ourselves question, are we going to be able to tick these boxes as part of our checklist as we do design? Building on both the fallouts and the opportunities of the crisis, in UNICEF, we have committed to reimagining learning and an education system that is even more inclusive and responds to the learning needs of all children, leaving no child behind, and with the active support and involvement of parents, teachers, and communities. Technology, of course, has a role to play in improving learning. It has the potential to help create world-class education, training, and care for everyone, no matter what their background is. In changing the traditional architecture of education, EdTech has the power to create efficiencies, cut costs, enable access to the unreached, address scalability, and transform how education is resourced, how it is taught, consumed, and used to build a knowledge economy. It is a critical tool to respond in disaster and emergency situations such as COVID-19. Moreover, EdTech has the potential to really improve student learning. Now, there are a number of strategies that we at UNICEF have identified that we would support and participate in the EdTech integration challenge in India, because it is a challenge. First is focusing on the intended education outcome rather than the technology. We are working to promote EdTech that links to learning outcomes, that engages learners through joyful approaches, immersive content, such as multimedia, gamification, mobile-based learning apps, peer-to-peer learning platforms, really quality solutions that need to be available in children's language. That language element is so important. And again, making sure that we're linking it to a learning outcome. The second strategy that we're focusing on is transforming the education system into a learning system. And here we've seen so many examples of teachers who have been teaching themselves to adapt to remote learning, to look at low-tech, high-tech, and no-tech opportunities for getting the learning to the students that they care so much about. And that's where they need also to be at the heart of EdTech programs. Technology can enable the system in transforming the workforce by developing learning teams focused on improving education outcomes in the classroom, within schools, and at all levels in the system to result in a more effective teaching and better support for inclusion, on-the-job learning, and motivation. And this is not new. This has come out very strongly in the Education Commission report of 2019. The third area that we would like to focus a lot on is ensuring that the national EdTech policies and practices focus first on the most marginalized. As we see, and if we look at the surveys that are trying to track how many kids have access to remote learning, at this stage, the numbers are not too bad. It's, again, even though it's close to 50%, it means that 50% of that 250 million children don't have access. And it's about who are those who are left behind. And so we must be looking at enhancing outcomes and technology or systems for those most deprived and marginalized. In the quest of every child learns, technology needs to be brought in as an aid to access out of school and unreached population, especially girls, children who are migrating, children who are displaced, children with disabilities, and children who are really from the most marginalized parts of society, who normally have low access to schooling and education. And there it will be important to build the buy-in of their parents, to get their parents' support in engaging in their education. In a situation like the pandemic of COVID-19, where face-to-face connect is not possible, technology will be an aid, but it does need to have the parents or a volunteer in the community or an elder sibling who helps them. The fourth area that we're trying to focus a lot on is the issues of online security, because this is crucial. Whenever we're introducing technology, wherever we're introducing connectivity to the internet, it's a big obligation that we also take heed of the requirements of online security, so that we're not doing harm while trying to do good. And we are committed to working with EdTech suppliers to provide privacy, to safety and data security to learners as they use technology to learn and build skills, and also to embed the value of being responsible users as they express their voice, as they express their creativity, and as they take action enabled by this new dimension that opens up for them. And finally, it's really important that we focus on generating knowledge for development of the sector. How are we learning? How are we trying, failing, quickly adapting, learning again, and providing our children with an experience that really enhances their development and that they thrive through the type of systems that they have access to? We are initiating a systematic agenda of research and evaluation on technology applications for teaching and learning. And we believe it's really important for state and local evaluations of technology programs so that we do use this data and evidence to learn more, to enhance the systems, and also to promote a greater use of such tools. UNICEF recognizes the potential of technology to improve teaching and learning, given the fact that the ground realities, and also in creating and nurturing a sustainable, effective EdTech integration. It can't be just as a COVID response, as a knee-jerk reaction. This is our opportunity to think through how we truly can transform the learning and education experience for children. We really look forward to partnering with IAMAI to take this important agenda forward, and also to co-create innovative designs along with children and young people to improve the learning outcomes. So I thank you very much for this opportunity to present our ideas to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yasmin. It's very interesting that you touched upon some of the issues that for the design committee and for IAMAI has been very close to our heart, which is how do we pivot design skills that we have from just being centered around products and really good product design towards creating experiences using technology that is available, or whether it's high tech, low tech, etc., for everyone, and not just for people like us, not just design in a bubble and forget that there are large sections of the population so affected very badly in times of COVID, but even otherwise. Education is, I think, one of the areas that we are very, very interested in, and perhaps collaborating with your initiatives will be an amazing opportunity for us also to learn together. One of the questions that I was pondering about, and is, as designers, we often kind of fall into privileging our own creativity, and we find it difficult to understand and get involved with communities. So sometimes we design a solution that we think is very good. You have worked for so long with communities and, two really vulnerable sections. So what is it that you feel as a designer who's thinking about individual creativity? What's the one thing we should look at, in a different way if we are going to get involved in communities with communities?
Mm-hmm. For me, the first thing is always what are the communities, what is the intended user thinking about it? What is their view? What is the problem that they want a solution to? And it's very important that we understand that problem. And I'll give you my experience after the tsunami in 2004. At that time, I was based in Sri Lanka, and we were busily going around all the displaced camps, constructing toilet units, toilet and shower facilities. And as our team were in a particular camp, they had marked out the area, the contractor was coming, they were going to start the construction. When one of the team heard some kids who were playing around saying, oh yeah, they'll construct it, no one's going to use them. So luckily, his curiosity was aroused, and he went and said, what do you mean? Why won't they use them? And they said, but that's in a corner. It's dark at night over there. We don't know what's behind it. No one will want to go there. So if you construct it, it won't work. And fortunately, our team then sat with the community, including some of the children, to say, all right, which location would work best for you? So they together co-created where the toilet block needs to be, what sort of lighting is needed, how the path has to be improved, etc. Now, if we had designed it if he had not picked up on that part, we would have wasted valuable resources because people would not have used the toilets. So it's in the same way. What is the solution that children are looking for? What is the problem? And what are the ideas they have? And children are not just one homogeneous entity. We have children, we have boys and girls and other gender identities. We have them living in urban slum areas. We have them living in urban, proper habitats. They're in the tribal communities where distance and internet connectivity isn't really an option. So what are the types of solutions that we can provide? And it doesn't mean you have to reach every single child, but we need to understand what are the key bottlenecks so that we can reach the maximum. And then we also have to trust the communities that if they see value in it, they will come and avail it. And you think of a parent, if they know a mile down the road, there is a place, it might be one of the government internet hubs, or the panchayat has an internet hub where kids are able to connect. And they know their children are going to be able to continue with their learning because the content there is attractive, keeps their attention, helps them grow, gains their curiosity. They will find a way of getting their child there. So it's really important that we buy into the ownership of parents, communities, and children.
Okay, yeah. So, the takeaway that I have, and, for myself and for designers is to sort of deeply listen to what it is that the community wants and not feel like I'm the expert. So, you don't know really what is good for you, but I'm the designer who will come and design something really good for you. So to move away from that, and that anecdote was very, very interesting and very telling for what we should keep in mind. So
it's about humility, if I can just say.
Absolutely.
It's about humility that we definitely have a skill set that can contribute, but we don't have all the answers. We don't have all the answers which communities might need. So if there's one thing my job around the world has taught me, it's be humble. Keep an open mind.
Yes, exactly. And as designers, we do actually possess the ability to empathize. We possess the ability to connect and understand. But if only sometimes we have to be aware of the other part of wanting to be the expert. So that's very good, very good takeaway for me. And being aware of time, I just want to ask Girish. Girish, do you have any question or anything you want to have a dialogue about?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Apala. And Dr. Kamin, it was amazing presentation, and looking forward to working with UNICEF and your team. Education is something that is dear to my heart because when I was at Intel, we worked with this project called CMPC, And having many teachers and also working parents, one of the things that I've seen with the pandemic is not only the children, but there is a huge amount of pressure, especially on working women and teachers. And I was wondering if there are any programs that you're looking at to kind of alleviate their pains as we just say that, okay, we have to create learning programs for children.
That's a really important one, and I'm glad it's coming from a man, because I think even in our own team, we've had to look at staggering hours. We've had to look at limiting the time in which meetings are held, because we have about 50% of our team, the UNICEF team, which is over 450 strong, about 50% are women. And it's the same thing. They have to look at the childcare, the home management, the cooking, looking after elderly parents, and also performing on their schedule of work. What we are trying to do is really bring awareness about the need to support our frontline workers. Because if you think of it, our ASHA workers, Anganwadi workers, ANMs, those who are in the front line, who are also exposing themselves for the sake of humanity and getting the messaging out and getting the services out. So a lot of our work has been also to create a societal value for them, for society to understand how they are the warriors, as we call them, of COVID. So how we can, especially those who have the least social support systems in a way, how we can address it. The other thing we're looking at is how can we provide psychosocial support, especially for this huge workforce. And we've been working on material with our partners such as WHO and others to have material available for the health workers, for children, for teachers that can be accessed time to time. And not take for granted that everyone is going to be strong and fine. So that's another way that we've been looking at it. And also, I think that building that sense of family and connectivity is important. How can we help you perform your job better? So I think if I were to look at one thing that maybe your technology gurus could look at is, how can we look at technology that can be delivered in a less costly way? How can it be that even in the poorer families, that we can look at least devices that can help them with the content that is necessary? We found TV has had quite a good reach, so we've been focusing a lot on the material and content for television. But what I would also suggest is bring different stakeholders into your design. Do you have educational psychologists as part of your design of a technology or of an app? Do you have young people coming in to be trying it out or to look at it? Because that multi-sectoral team comes from a very different perspectives. Maybe you bring in some mothers also to see how can they, what is it that they need for their children, especially when it comes to ed tech. So having a diverse team that looks at the different connections that are needed to be addressed really helps create a product that is more valuable to people.
Sure. Thanks, Doctor.
Thank you so much. So I think we're very fortunate that you were here and speaking to us about exactly the kinds of things that we would like to pursue, as designers in India. And I know that the design community in India has been very interested to see how our abilities can be put to use for making design accessible and work for everybody, and really not for just a few people. So it's very timely, and we take away a lot from what you said. And I hope we will get a chance to collaborate with you and your team, as Girish said. So thank you once again, Dr. Yasmin.
Thank you for having me and listening to me. Really appreciate it. And good luck with the rest of your conference.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay. So now we shall move on to starting the conference. But before that, we're going to just spend a few minutes sharing with all of you some of the activities that we have done as the design committee in this 1 year of being in existence, and also announce some of the initiatives we are launching at this summit. And some of the initiatives are so much in line with what Dr. Yasmin just spoke about. So, going back in time in April this year, a podcast series titled The Design Positive Show was hosted by the design committee and brought to the table a series of podcasts that discuss topics ranging from speculative critical design, responsible design, rebalancing leadership, agency for impact, and much more. We were delighted when some episodes made it to the top 10 of the Apple podcast list. For the very first show hosted by the committee, this was no mean achievement. The committee also organized the COVID Design Challenge in April of this year with 200 plus entries from designers and non-designers across the country. It was no easy task to get to the 3 winners, given the quality of submissions. But winners there were, and the first 3 places were taken by Mr. Arjun UR, who won the first prize. He's a second-year student in Kerala. His entry, The Easy Isolate, is what won the first prize. The second prize went to Ms. Simran Saha and her team, students of Institute of Engineering and Management in Kolkata, for proposing a mechanical ventilation system. The third prize went to Tech Eagle Innovations based out of Gurugram, and their idea involved around drone crowd analytics to help with social distancing. All 3 winners will be awarded their prizes tomorrow in the award ceremony, so do be there. We also piloted a unique design index to evaluate the entries we received for the design challenge, an index that looked at design on the basis of course, traditional design attributes, such as how engaging is the design, how easy is it to understand and use the design. But we also included attributes such as how inclusive is the design? Is the design building capability of those who are going to interact and use the design? Are the designs supporting behavior change towards sustainable lifestyle, sustainable usage? And so these were some of the initiatives. And now, of course, this major initiative of the Design Summit is right here. But there are some important initiatives that we are launching here. And I would now like to request Dr. Girish Prabhu, co-chair of the Design and Innovation Committee, to tell us about these initiatives that we are launching today. And I do hope many of you will be interested to participate in these initiatives. Thank you. And over to you, Girish.
Sure, Apala. When IAMAI formed the Design and Innovation Committee last year, apart from planning annual events and awards and so on, we made a conscious decision to promote multiple initiatives that will create impact through design for the society in general and for IAMAI members in specific. This specifically was based on our belief that design has both the strength and conviction of shaping the future experiences of humanity. And I'm going to talk to you about 3 initiatives that we have started this year, 2019-2020. And first initiative is called Designing for the Next Billion. As part of this initiative, we want to focus on communities and people and start a dialogue around the role of design in delivering meaningful solutions for equity, inclusion, empowerment, and sustainable impact at scale. The hope here is that we'll partner with global design and academic fraternity, corporate organizations, and government institutions. We hope to form multidisciplinary collaborations across technology, social sciences, economic specialists. And we hope that you will join this initiative. And we also have plans of starting fellowships, roundtables, DNB awards, Design for Next Billion awards, and Design Positive podcasts. The second initiative that we have started is design case studies. And in continuation of our belief about the immense value design can provide to the future of humanity, the plan here is to curate case studies of exemplar designs. And not only successful designs, because failure teaches us much more than sometimes success teaches us. So the case studies will kind of portray both. Our vision is to showcase design and design values of empathy, inclusivity, compassion, and humanness. And this will kind of broadly categorized into individuals who have inspirational life stories, innovative products and services, organizational innovations, and environment and system design examples. And this will be an open-ended participation. Curation will be done by the committee, and it will be based on human values and dignity in ever-changing technological, economic, social, and cultural space. The third initiative, we call it #SAVA, Society Against Violence and Abuse. Through this initiative, we plan to explore if and how design can play a role in both the social and business aspects of gender-based discrimination, violence, and abuse. It is not widely known, but violence and abuse affects not only the development of nation, costing nations fortunes in terms of law enforcement, healthcare costs, labor costs, and so on, but it also has an effect on businesses. Surprisingly, when I read this report, a 2019 KPMG report that was commissioned by Vodafone about 9 markets, including India, the report says that approximately $1.1 billion to $2.1 billion of economic output is lost every year due to consequences of absenteeism related to violence and abuse. And as part of this initiative, we have started working with Institute of Customer Experience, which is a not-for-profit organization of Human Factors International, using critical design approach to figure out how do we address this. We have a panel during this summit, and there are other activities that are planned along this, and we would really request all of you who are interested to approach us. Members of IAMAI, please let us know how you would like to participate. People who are not members, take membership with IAMAI, join us, and then we hope that we can make a difference. The program for the next 2 days is developed around these 3 initiatives and much more. In closing, I want to thank all the Design and Innovation Committee members and the strong team at IAMAI for putting together an exciting program for this first annual Design Leadership Summit. I'm sure you'll have many takeaways from this summit. However, I also strongly request you that engage with us in our initiatives and shape the future experience of humanity. Thank you and enjoy the Design Leadership Summit. I would say Jai Hind. Back to Apala.
Thank you. And so we are, I think now we can hand over to our host and take this forward. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the conference.
Yeah, enjoy the conference.
Thank you, Ms. Lahiri. Thank you, Dr. Prabhu. Very special thanks to Dr. Yasmin for sharing her time to be with us today. And a special thanks goes out to you and Dr. Prabhu as well for being with us today and starting the summit. I would also like to thank everyone for joining us today. Please stay tuned for a day full of such enlightening conversation. Thank you. We are signing off.